Hi Pisces, welcome to Ashuna's Tarot. I went ahead and pre-shuffled and connected to spirit. So by the way, everybody who has requested a private reading, those are coming out today and tomorrow. So check your inbox for those if you would like to book a private reading. The information's in the description box below. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Ten of Swords is the general energy for this reading. So this message here, I really had to like sit with spirit before I even started to channel. Sometimes I just shuffle and then I just hit record and then I speak what's coming through. But for this one, I kind of had to sit with the energy a little bit longer because there's a few of you out there in the collective. And I'm going to spend some time on this, honestly, because I feel like it needs to be felt. I feel like it needs to be acknowledged and it needs to be heard. There's a few of you out in the collective, whether it's just one person or a few of you, but this message needs to come through. So I'm picking up traumatic experiences, and I'm talking about major traumatic experiences in your past, okay? And this can be in your childhood, okay? Six of Cups. It can be very recently with everything that's happened in the world and how many things have shifted and changed. Like I'm picking up a lot of not even just heartbreak, not even just betrayal, not even just like misfortune, like everything that could have gone wrong going wrong kind of situation, and not just being underwater, but I'm picking up like major traumatic situations, okay, like survival mode kind of situations. And so again, I just want to take some time to acknowledge those people in the collective, because again, I've had the Five of Wands, okay, the Three of Swords, the Six of Cups, the Ten of Swords, okay? These are painful cards, okay? It's not even so much about the journey of spirituality, not even so much about the transformational process. It's about the traumas endured through this process, because it changes you, okay? There are things that you cannot heal, okay, that you must learn how to cope with, okay? And again, there's healing that is done, but there are things that you can't take back, if that makes sense, right? You can't take back what's happening in your childhood. You can't take back situations and experiences that have happened more so like more recently in your life, okay? There's always healing, okay, on the other side of it, but there are things that you just can't heal through. There are things that you just cope with, all right? And so there's two things here, okay? Because I feel the need to spend so much time with this message, because it feels painful, honestly. It feels painful because these are the people that cry behind closed doors, that cry in the shower, okay? These are the people that keep it all in, that nobody knows what they went through, okay? They have an entire life story that they could write a book about, but nobody would ever know about it, okay? These people cry in silence. These people, like, the pillow is the only one that knows what they've gone through, okay? Because these people are so strong that sometimes they feel like they can't even speak to others about it, because they wouldn't even want to burden them, okay? Because they feel like the pain that they've carried is so much that, number one, there's no way that they can be understood. There's no way. They can tell their whole life story, but you never felt it. You never seen it. You never experienced it. So it's like there's no way that they're ever going to feel understood by telling their story. And there's just so much to it that they wouldn't even know where to start, you know? And these people have been through so much in their life that they can write a book for each chapter of their life, like a whole book, because of how much they've experienced. And yeah, they've never even told a soul, maybe, of the traumatic experiences in their childhood. And even later in life, like, it's just like those things that you kind of like take to the grave kind of situation. Because again, this collective feels like, or at least the person that I'm speaking to, they feel like even if they were to tell somebody, like, it wouldn't change anything, right? Like, it's already happened, right? And I'm picking up a lot of like childhood wounding and trauma happening in the childhood stage, as to where they feel like they missed out on parts of their childhood that they're just never gonna get back. Like, those years are gone. if that makes sense. And I promise this takes a positive turn. I'm feeling the need to spend so much time to acknowledge this kind of pain and how it feels and how it might present itself in your life, because these people, again, they haven't told the soul. Okay, these are experiences that they wouldn't even know where to begin if they even had a therapist or somebody that they can confine in and tell them. It's like they wouldn't even know where to begin. It's like they feel like it's so much that they would rather just keep quiet. And so they live their life every single day pretending they're normal, pretending they're okay, but there's an entire mountain underneath the iceberg. Okay, people don't even see the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole mountain underneath of things that you've kept quiet, of things that you've, you know, that you plan to take to the grave. So there's a couple things coming in, okay? With the Six of Cups in the reverse, okay, this talks about memories, okay? It talks about reminiscing, but not even so much, that's not really how I'm picking it up. This I'm picking up as like childhood trauma. But also, what I'm picking up with the Six of Cups in the reverse and the Three of Swords and the Five of Wands in the reverse is that some of you even have PTSD, like CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, to where you're either like doing the dishes or washing your face or just kind of like looking out the window or doing something normal in your day, and all of a sudden you get a flashback of the past. And these are very unpleasant memories where you're like, I don't want to remember that part of my life. I don't want to acknowledge that part of my life. I'm not that person anymore. I don't want to think about this. It's just kind of like you kind of like shake. It's like you shake out of those memories, but it's like a movie placed before your eyes, and it just kind of like takes over for a second. And it's like you're reliving the past all over again, and you could feel it. You could see it crystal clear, like if it was a movie playing before your eyes of past memories. Okay, PTSD is those flashbacks. It's those flashbacks, and PTSD doesn't just happen for people that have gone to like war or anything like that. Like it happens for people who have been through abuse, like violence, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. Like it's just those really big experiences, even accidents and things like that. It's just like those little movies will play in your mind, like little chapters of that will just play before your eyes, and you'll remember and you'll feel everything all over again, like if you were living it years later after it's happened, to where you're like, okay, I'm no longer in that situation, I'm no longer in that place of my life, I'm no longer in those relationships or in those in that household or whatever it was where you experienced that trauma. It's like I'm so far away from that, and I've done healing work and I've processed, and now I understand where certain things happen. So why the heck am I still remembering these things? Okay, and these are things that you cringe when you think about, like you cringe when you get these flashbacks. And again, this message is going to be very specific for just maybe one person out there. But I really felt the need to like get it out. And again, I had to meditate. I had to just sit with spirit, because when I pulled the cards and I see the Ten of Swords, the Six of Cups, the Three of Swords, and the Five of Wands in the reverse, I'm like, whoa, should I clarify? Should I get a final outcome card? Should I get spirit's advice? Because this doesn't look too good. But again, everything takes a really positive turn. Just bear with me, because spirit asked me to acknowledge that, to acknowledge it, because there's people that have been going years waiting for some kind of closure, waiting to be heard, waiting to be felt, wanting to be understood. It's not for validation because they've been through it, but it's just like wanting someone to be present with them for one moment so that they could share this, so that some way, somehow, someone can sit there with them in that space and acknowledge what they've been through. And I don't know, again, what that's going to do for that person, but a lot of people have been waiting for closure. It's just chapters in their life that just stayed open. It's just like, what? How could it end like this? How could this be it? Like, aren't we all supposed to get a happy ending? Isn't it supposed to have some kind of conclusion? What's the lesson, right? It's just like, whoa, that just kind of stayed open. Like, it's like you kind of like stays open in your life. It's just a chapter that like remains open with no conclusion, with no lesson, with no, like, it's just like something really traumatic happened, and it just kind of like stays frozen in time. And so, yes, again, I'm getting a lot of like childhood trauma. okay? And even in the most recent past, because Six of Cups is just remembering. But again, with the Six of Cups in the reverse, and then the Three of Swords and the Five of Wands and the Ten of Swords, this feels like PTSD, okay? This feels like nightmares. It feels like, yeah, it feels like remembering certain chapters of your life where maybe you didn't like the person you were or who you had to become because of the trauma that you went through. Like, there's a lot of people that I'm picking up here with the Six of Cups is like you were innately like a pure-hearted person, like innocent, like a good-hearted person, like a kind-hearted person that had to experience traumatic experiences as a child that they couldn't even understand as a child. And so it's like you had no tools to navigate it. You had no tools to kind of like overcome it or make sense of what happened. So it's just like you kind of started to create some kind of defense mechanism around you where maybe you had some kind of like, you know how the bully, like, you know how bullies in school bully other kids, right? But then the bully's life, like the parents an alcoholic or the dad hits them or like they have another traumatic, it's like hurt people, right? So it's like there's an entire story of like generations of families like where there's sexual abuse, violence, and then we go back to the parents' lives, and then there's sexual abuse and violence and drug use and alcoholics, and then you go to their parents and like the grandparents, and you go back in history and you're like, whoa, it's hurt people hurting people. It's just these cycles that perpetuate, that continue. And it's just like, it's tough, it's deep, because to some of you here, I see that you've like reached this level of compassion in your life where you even feel compassion for the people that have hurt you the most. Because you've wanted to heal, like you want to forgive, like you want to let this go. You don't want to have these flashbacks anymore. You don't want to. You're so ready to move on. You're so ready to move on. Like you see the horizon in front of you. Everything is laid out. Things are finally opening up for you. Like you see your entire future ahead of you. But you still remember the childhood. You're like, wow, I can't get my childhood back. I can't get my childhood back. Those years are gone. So it's just like this like feeling on edge where you see your entire future ahead of you and it's bright. Three of Wands, your future is bright. But there's still like, it's still like you kind of look back a little bit. You're like, wow. But still, it's just like I still have these swords. I still have this inner conflict of missing out on a childhood, of missing out on certain moments, of missing out on whatever real love or true love is, or whatever it feels like to have a healthy family that is supportive. It's just like it keeps coming back to the past. It's like you're so ready to cross this portal. You're so ready because you see your entire future laid out ahead of you. Okay, it's bright, it's beautiful. Everything you've ever wanted, it's on the other side. Okay, you're right there. You're literally on the edge of moving on, of just like shutting the door and closing the door on the past and becoming a completely new person. All right, a blank piece of paper. Okay, not taking your history with you. Okay, because again, our scars, some of us like to define ourselves by our scars. It's like, yeah, we went through that, you know, I went through that, I made it out alive, you know, but sometimes we identify with that story to where it can hold us back. So it's a good thing because we draw strength from our scars and from the things that we went through. It's like, yeah, that buried me. I went through that, I survived, I made it out on the other side. But sometimes even having that story of I was abused, I was hurt, and I overcame it. This is my come up story. But even then, those scars still define us. Like those stories that we tell, even if it's like our come up story, it still can have a hold on us. Like memories are very, very powerful because for every picture that you have on your phone, for every single memory that you have in your mind, it holds space in your new life. So let's say that you're trying to become a totally new person and go for things that you never thought were possible before. Like let's say that you never dare to dance in public. And again, I don't know why this example is coming up, but maybe you were so shy to dance in public and your whole life that has been your story. It's like maybe you even went through some kind of like abuse, verbal abuse towards your body, or maybe even for some people, I'm getting like sexual abuse in your childhood. And again, this is very specific, so I don't even know if it's going to make sense for a lot of people out there, but this might just be for one person. And because of that, like you felt all these blockages in your body, so you couldn't move. Like you would try to dance and you just couldn't move. Like it just, I don't know, like there was these blockages in the body. And so your whole life you wanted to try those things. You wanted to sing, or you wanted to dance, or you wanted to do something that was so out of the norm for you. Again, because Three of Wands is stepping out of your comfort zone, coming out of your shell. And so again, if your stories from the past of the things that have happened to you that have defined the way that you look at yourself and have defined how far you dare to go, it's like, even if it's your come up story, or your story of how you made it out alive, and the story that you draw strength from, it's like, yeah, I went through that, but I made it on the other side, you know? Even those stories can define us to where we sometimes hesitate to try certain things in our life. And so what I'm getting here is that your entire future is ahead of you, okay? So if you missed out on your childhood, if you missed out on certain opportunities in your life that you feel like you're just never going to get those years back, everything that you've paid as a child, everything that you've paid up until this point, whether it was for the purpose of your soul evolution, whether it was balancing out karma, whether it was just lessons that your soul had to go through, whatever it was, it's like you're being prepared for the best years of your life. Again, that's the Three of Wands. That's the Three of Wands, your entire future laid out in front of you. A bright future, everything you've ever wanted on the horizon, and you're ready. Like, you've been stripped bare, okay? All she has with her is her board and the ocean in front of her. That's it. Everything else has been taken away. She's a blank piece of paper. So what this means is you can rewrite your story however you want it, okay? You can even leave the past behind to where nobody even has to know this about yourself if you don't want them to know. Again, for some of you, it's important for other people to know this about you. But for some of you, it's like you just want to forget that this was ever even your life, because you're so ready to have something completely new, completely different. Again, both of these cards, she's looking into the horizon, meaning she's left the past behind. She doesn't even want to glance back, okay? Because she's so ready for what's to come, because she knows that where she's been is just not it. It's just not it. That's not where the fulfillment is. That's not where the happiness is. Everything you've ever wanted is in front of you. It's ahead of you. There's nothing in the past, all right? So it's like you kind of like need that gentle push, like that last push. Like if you were on a cliff and I was there, I would just gently just like push you, push you, because everything you've ever wanted is in front of you, okay? So again, there's so many things that happened in the past. For some, it might just be one person out there that's been so traumatic that you still glance back, you're like, what? How do I even make sense of this? How do I even process this? How do I even understand why this had to happen? And again, a lot of it is just having that compassion. Because the forgiveness is not for others, it's for you to move on. And again, it sounds cheesy. Everybody hears that forgiveness is not for the other person, but for you. But it's so true. It's so true. But again, everything you've ever wanted is in front of you. And so I feel you right here, all right? Like you're a little bit on edge because you feel the excitement of the future, but you're still glancing at the past. Like there's still chapters that you want a conclusion. You want closure for that. Yeah, this is intense, okay? This is intense because if I were right here, like right behind you, I would just like gently shove you because everything you want is like right in front of you. It's already there, okay? It's already there, but it's just like this, like, it's just like you're hesitating a little bit to take those next steps because maybe you feel the greatness of it. You know how some people are afraid of failure, but other people are afraid of success? Maybe you're afraid of success. Maybe you're afraid of how, I don't know, like how powerful you may be that you may not even recognize yourself. Like you're maybe a little bit afraid of losing your story because you don't want to lose the things that you feel like you've accomplished up until this point. But at the same time, it's like you're so ready for something completely new, completely different. Like nobody would ever recognize you. Like nobody would ever like dare to say that you would, I don't know, stand up on stage and become a singer or become a professional dancer. I don't know why these messages are coming through, but I'm just gonna channel it because it feels like it's something that is so out of the blue, so out of the norm. Like you're just completely trying to shift into something completely different, okay? And so that's why the memories can kind of be heavy because then the memories define you of like, yeah, but I went through this, I went through that. And it's not like you're making excuses or anything like that. It's just like you're attached to your story because it's your come up story. It's like, I made it out of those situations. I made something out of myself. You know, nobody thought I could make it. Everybody left me for dead. Everybody thought I was damaged goods or something along those lines. Again, because I'm getting a lot of trauma, okay? Childhood trauma. 6 of Cups in the reverse, 3 of Swords, 5 of Wands in the reverse, right? And 10 of Swords. These are painful cards. So I have to be honest, like this was This is something that not only left you for dead, but it's like it buried you alive. And you had to go through that entire process. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. Again, it's like you could write an entire book for each chapter of your life, of how many things you've gone through. And so the good news and the positive side to this is that you're right here, right now. 3 of Wands. Everything laid out in front of you, okay? The best life has to offer, all right? Maybe you couldn't even have ever imagined the greatness of what universe has planned for you, okay? Maybe your imagination couldn't even fathom what Spirit has planned for you and how Spirit intends to reward you and use your life experience to inspire others. Okay? Sometimes the reason why we go through very traumatic experiences, all right? And once upon a time I read this book of like, you know, like the worst things that could happen in life, like horrific things, all right? And it was like the spiritual definition as to why those things happen. And so again, I'm not religious, but I've studied a lot of religions. I just like to learn about different things. And so I was reading this book, and it's a very simplistic book. It's like very simple, but it's very spiritual, and it explains the worst things in life from a very like spiritual standpoint. And so for like very traumatic experiences that happen to children and to like in war and like terrorism and things like that, like really horrific things, the spiritual explanation to that, and again, this was just one book that I read that just really gave me a different perspective on it, was that sometimes as people, we experience the darkest depths of life only to be able to pull other people out of there and to be able to reach new levels of compassion. And so again, it refers to a whole bunch of like ascended masters, specifically one ascended master Yeshua, brother Jesus Christ, and imagine like the things that he went through. Again, I'm not religious, but I do admire their stories. The things that they had to go through. Imagine to have that much love for humanity, that much love for the world, that they're literally sacrificed and still have that much love and compassion and forgiveness. Like that kind of love scares me. It scares me because it's so deep. It's so deep. But again, it doesn't justify the experiences, but for some people that have gone through extreme traumatic experiences, and again, I've had to do a lot of healing from my childhood, and so the way that I was able to overcome was literally through compassion. It was literally through compassion, to looking at the people that had caused the abuse and the traumas, and then look into their life and what their parents was like and what their situations were like and what they went through. And it's just like, wow, it's like, it's intense, because then you have a whole nother level of perspective and context. It's like if you only view it from your perspective, which is you being the main character, it's like, dang, you're feeling everything. You're like in the middle. You're like in the eye of the storm. You feel everything so intensely. But then if you take the third person point of view, where you take the narrator perspective, and then you look at all the other characters in the story, and then you look into their lives and what they experienced. And again, it never justifies what they did. It never does. It never does. But then you start to understand from a level of compassion. And that's the way that a lot of people are able to heal and release and feel compassion. It's literally through compassion. And again, it doesn't justify anything terrible that happens in the world. There's really no way to justify it. But for people that want to move on, for people that want to make sense of it, for people that want to forgive, compassion, it's just those levels of compassion that it's crazy. It's crazy, because I have been through some of those traumas myself, and it's just like, wow, how could anybody ever heal from this? It's like you just don't get those years back, you know? You learn to heal and to cope with it, and then you learn to pull strength from it. But on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, it's like you reach those levels of compassion, to where you're able to understand so many people from all walks of life and why they do certain things and what caused it for them, and how, like, you just trace back generations of pain, of hurt, and people that have walked so far to get us to this point so that we may start the healing process. And again, you've done a lot of the healing, 100%. Like, you've not only healed for yourself, but you've healed generations before you and generations ahead of you, because now your descendants, or the generations to come from you, are coming from your healed place. So they're not taking that baggage, because you took it all and you healed it. You took all of it and you freaking healed it. That's why you're at this portal. That's why she's bare. The only thing she has is her board. She has no baggage, okay? No baggage, no nothing, okay? It's just all a faint memory in the past. It's just a blur. all right? Because she's done the work. She carried that heavy load her entire life, since childhood, all right? And not only just her load, okay? Not only just the injustices done to her, but the injustices done to generations before her, all right? To finally step at this threshold, bare, naked, vulnerable, stripped down to the core, just her board in her hand and the ocean in front of her. Okay, that's freedom right there. That's freedom from anything you've ever had to carry in the past. And so what I see here is like, if I was right there, I just like gently shove you, gently shove you forward, because this person keeps looking back. It's just like they still want some kind of closure or some kind of conclusion of everything they had to go through in the past, because that's how traumatizing it was. And so like the only thing that I will say here is like, everything you've ever wanted is right in front of you. You've done the heavy lifting, okay? There's people that get to enjoy their childhood or get to enjoy their like a couple years in like the beginning of their life, but then the rest of their life they're balancing out karma, or they're having to learn really painful lessons. But for you, what I see here is like you were the one that decided to roll up your sleeves. Like your soul made this contract to roll up your sleeves and handle the hardest things you've ever had to handle in your life in the first years of your life, so that the rest of your life can be enjoyable, blissful. So it's like you've done the heavy lifting, and now the rest of your life is going to be about thriving instead of surviving. So it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I wanted to clarify. I wanted to pull final outcome cards, but everything's already here, okay? This is where you are, okay? Everything else is already in the past. Yes, like I just want to acknowledge your pain. These are the most painful cards in the deck, okay? Conflict, 3 of swords, 6 of cups, 10 of swords. Like there's not even one more sword that can fit on her back, because she's already got all 10 of them on her back. It's a bloody card, okay? In this deck, it looks peaceful, okay? But this card, the way that it's shown in other tarot decks, it's like literally 10 swords stabbed through her back. There couldn't be an 11th sword because it just wouldn't fit. But again, it's all past. It's all past, because this is where you find yourself right now. So again, if I was right there, I'd just like gently shove you forward because this person is like, it's not that she's hesitating. She knows where she's going. She knows what she wants. But it's just kind of like glancing back at the past, like, dang, I can't believe I went through that. Like, I wish I could just, like, erase that from my life. Like, I wish I wouldn't have these memories. I wish I wouldn't have these flashbacks. But, yeah, I mean, whatever transformation you went through, it stripped you to your core. And there's no more baggage, okay? You're free to go. You're free to grab your board and sail into the ocean, because you've done the hardest heavy lifting of your life in the first years of your life. And now the rest of the life that you have to live is going to literally be a life to enjoy, a life to thrive, to tap into your potential, to tap into all the things you could have ever wanted. As a kid, is like, give that to yourself now. Be that parent to yourself. Be that parent to yourself. All right? Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Wow, that's powerful. Whoever this is, I feel like it might just be one person out there. You're good, okay? You're good to move on. You're good to just go forward. Don't let the story define you, because I know that you kind of feel like the story gives you strength and power because you overcame so many things. But at the same time, it's like, would you rather just get a completely blank sheet of paper where you get to rewrite your story however you want it from here on out? To not be defined by your childhood, to not be defined by whatever you had to encounter, to not be defined by it. And again, a lot of people draw strength from it, but what I'm feeling here for this person is like, you just want a completely blank piece of paper. You just want to rewrite it on your own terms. Like, you don't want anything to define you or to box you in. So yes, like if I was there, I would just gently push you or shove you, because everything you've ever wanted is right in front of you. Okay? Do not worry. You've done the heavy lifting. Everything that you kind of had to clear, you balanced out the karma. You cleared it out. You've done generations of work, not just your work, but the work for your lineage, for your generations, and collective work. You've processed it, okay? You deserve to thrive. You deserve the rewards that are coming for you. But you have to just make that step, all right? It's like you're already making the step. You're already making the step. Just keep moving forward, all right? Blessings, Pisces. Whoever you are, this is a really powerful reading. Yes, you have a really bright future ahead of you. Keep walking. Take care. Blessings, Pisces.